Hello, role-playing people! In this episode of the podcast, I want to talk a little bit about those things we can safely consider outright mistakes in Demon the Fallen, but also try to offer a means of circumventing them and not letting them get in the way of the game. If you're asking me, the biggest reason they are mistakes is because these pieces of information we're going to talk about were not needed in the first place. They are not relevant for a good, fun experience with a game. Let's get right into it. The actual names of the houses make no sense. Neberu, Lamasu, Rabisu, Halaku. These are the names of Assyrian or Mesopotamian deities and are definitely not the names that would have been bestowed by Michael upon the defeated rebels. Certainly, at that point in demon history and lore, everything was pretty much a mess, which is undoubtedly why the Heavenly Host and the Giver just left despite their victory. Still, it's not really justified how out of so many possible combinations of syllables and sounds, the writers went for these mythological names and unfortunately used them so poorly. The same for apocalyptic form names. Did they have to name them Dagon, the Visage of Awakenings, or Kishar, the Visage of Earth? No one is going to say they bear the visage of Dagon. But everyone will say, when assuming their apocalyptic form, that it is the Visage of Awakenings. It keeps things simple and relies less on spooky names. Less spooky names, please. Same with the houses. There is no need to call them anything but devils, scourges, malefactors, and so on. So this is a way of circumventing the name game in Demon the Fallen. Not only do the names just not work in the situation and do the houses and forms no justice, but they are outright confusing and against the internal logic of the game. For instance, Dagon is the Visage of Awakenings, but Dagon is the Malefactor Archduke. So I hear some of you say, yes, but one letter is different. Okay, very well. Well, what about Kishar? Kishar. Oh yeah. In the core book, we are told Kishar is the visage of the earth. No doubt named after the first malefactor of the earth who adapted to his labor and thus gained that visage. But in the book, City of Angels, there is a character named Kishar. And Kishar, while in the body of Muriel Washington, is a baroness of the house Scourge. She has nothing to do with the malefactor visage of Earth, so why do they have the same name? Why? Well, quite a few people have worked on these games over a few years, so I'll let you fill in the blanks. We all know White Wolf doesn't keep all their eggs in one basket. But still, they should not have the same name. Simply using the nicknames of the houses and using the descriptions of the apocalyptic forms is the best way to go. Now we move on to the Earthbound book, which is probably notorious for saying that human cultures, histories, and religions are influenced by Earthbound cults, all except Abrahamic ones, which were discovered by Lucifer and sort of taken under his wing. The easiest way to cease fire is to remind everyone that in this game no one really wins. God is absent at best and outright hateful at worst. The archdukes are insane monsters who want to destroy creation, and Lucifer has failed over and over again. So regardless of which side you're on, no one wins. But there are many issues here. A lot of them can be read on forums and can be listened to in other lore videos on YouTube. What I want to present is a point I haven't heard a lot of people make, so I will go ahead and say the history presented in the book regarding the Earthbound Archdukes and Lucifer is irrelevant for a demon game that doesn't focus on those exact aspects. No one cares about the fact that Dagon settled in India and Abaddon roamed around for a while. No one cares. What players are concerned about is the fact that the Earthbound are insane monsters who want to destroy the world, will seduce you or enslave you by your true name, and need to be stopped or evaded. Easy as that. In the fight against the Earthbound, what is most useful is finding out their true name. And to do that, You either work with the cryptics and cross your fingers that the name is on their list, or simply investigate their sick, demented cult. The method of worship used and the organization of the cult itself should tell the characters something about who the Earthbound is. And this is according to the core rulebook. The rest of it is the storytellers to create. You can investigate Earthbound cults. You make a roll. Depending on the number of successes, you obtain more information. There is no need to offer a history of the world from the perspective of the archdukes because it will not come into play. And part of the fun of Demon is precisely coming back to a world that is not familiar and is less than it was, while seeing it from the perspective of a mortal, forgetting a lot of what the demon used to know. But they did need to do this to justify the meta story, and this is part 2 of what I think they did wrong. The meta narrative is all about Lucifer, who brought the archdukes out of the pit but soon discovered they are monsters, they were eaten by their torment, and he starts fighting against them. Great, except he is nowhere to be found in 1999 when the Fallen start getting out of the pit. This game is not about Lucifer. It's about the player-made protagonists. So this is a mistake. I think they wrote too much of the meta-narrative from the perspective of Lucifer. Imagine if Vampire had done the same for Cain, had turned Cain into a sort of protagonist in the Vampire meta-narrative. That would have been a disaster. It would have turned the vampire we know and love upside down, proving some clans and sects right and some wrong. And when that happens, all the tension and the mystery is just thrown out the window. When the lore says, oh yeah, these guys are wrong and these guys are right. Make no mistake, I love how Demon empowers the player by asking him to make a character who knows a lot, who has seen the creation of the world. But the activities of both Lucifer and the Archdukes should remain a mystery as they happened during the character's time in the pit. I think these are forces that should be hinted towards but not fully present in the game. There really is no need for their presence. That being said, more than being religious in the proper sense of the word, Demon is Miltonian. It's Paradise Lost, the game. Having given it a few goes, I can honestly say real-life religious affiliation just doesn't come into play. The fallen characters have memories of creation itself. They understand much more than any human religions ever did. That version of creation really overpowers any attempts at explaining it from the other perspectives. So there is no need to explain it. It brings plenty of drama and interesting character concept, and that's what it needs to do. Characters who have seen the multi-layered, supposedly perfect version of creation don't care whether you're Catholic, Orthodox, Muslim, Hasidic, Taoist, or Buddhist. It just doesn't matter. What does matter is making pacts, and that's a lot of fun, bringing awesome drama and backstory and a character with powerful motivation and means to the game, trying to survive courtly politics and trying desperately to either evade or destroy as many Earthbound as possible. That to me is the essence of Demon, and that's what people should look to when playing Demon the Fallen. So there we go. These are what I think were major mistakes lore-wise in the development of Demon the Fallen. I absolutely love the game. As I've mentioned it before, I've read the entirety of it, including the short stories and the novels, and I do like it the way it is already presented. I think it's playable, but again, it's up to the individual player and the individual storyteller to decide if they agree with these classic elements as presented in the book, or if they want to change them around. That being said, it is still a very playable World of Darkness game. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. And take care, have fun, and don't forget to play.